Maker spaces in elementary school library media centers, an investigative report. The research problem is elementary school library media specialists need to create makerspaces that will support curriculum and instruction across grade levels and content areas. And this is a focus on kindergarten through fifth grade. Some elementary library media specialists have access to limited funding to create makerspace environments, purchase resources, and provide professional development for educators. As Curti, and Fleming states, space makers. Every successful makerspace has individuals that start and manage the space. So, therefore, as I move into learning more about maker spaces, I'm knowing that as a librarian, I am a space maker. So, the issues. Maker spaces in some elementary school libraries, media centers are not expected because there's not a clear understanding of how to effectively implement the process. Environments are also outdated with limited funding to bring the library up to date. Funding for resources and materials to support makerspaces are also very limited. As Curti and Fleming states, it is a well planned design to allow students to discover concepts the teacher intended for them to learn along the way. So, with this whole idea of maker spaces and collaborating, we have to work collectively with classroom teachers and library teachers in order to make a makerspace work effectively for all patrons. And so this is what my investigative report wants to look into. I want to see what can we do to ensure that the makerspace is effective in engaging students and also impacting student learning across content areas and grade levels. There is a lot of controversy with makerspaces in elementary school media centers because of belief systems. Number one, many educators believe the library media center should be a quiet space where patrons come to check out books or read quietly. There needs to be a shift in mindset when it comes to library environments, literacy engagements, and resources. So, maker education inspires deeper learning, according to Curti, and Fleming. And how do we make this happen? We can only make this happening by coming to a common understanding of what a makerspace is, especially when it comes to elementary library media centers. So, my question is, how can elementary school library media specialists create maker spaces that will support curriculum and instruction in all content areas? Curti, and Fleming states educational maker spaces are based on student ownership of their learning. So it's important for us to have a common philosophy and understanding of how students learn and how practices can create spaces for children to be highly engaged and to work collaboratively with teachers as facilitators. And this can happen in kindergarten through fifth grade if it is intentionally done. Maker spaces are a perfect opportunity to work together as library teachers and classroom teachers to make this happen for all students, especially in elementary settings. So there are ongoing debates. Many elementary school library media specialists believe makerspaces should be implemented in middle and high school libraries. There's also a conflict with time and space for makerspaces in library media centers during instructional time. I believe in collaboration and integration of curriculum by co-teaching with classroom teachers in order to intentionally engage students with makerspaces that complement all content areas. As Curti and Fleming states, it is not necessary to be a technical expert to start a makerspace in your school or library. One of the things when we think about technology, technology can be plugged and unplugged. Children don't get to tinker like they used to. And so making things, taking things apart, using scissors is a technology tool that some children still have challenges using. Sometimes they put their thumbs where the fingers should be. And so there's a lot of ways that technology can be used and plugged, but we've got to come to a common understanding of what is technology as well. So, with the idea of repurposing and being innovative and using recycled goods, we can make maker spaces happen even with limited funding if we can get beyond the debate of saying that maker spaces only belong in middle and high schools. So this brings me to our exploration. Since I believe in collaboration and integration of content areas, my goal is to explore ways in which I can create a makerspace throughout an elementary school library media center. The elementary school library media center is outdated and needs an environmental upgrade. The public school library has limited funding, so my plan is to repurpose purpose items that will bring the library environment up to the 21st century. Curti and Fleming says, ultimately, the outcome of a maker education and educational maker spaces leads to determination, independent and creative problem solving, and authentic preparation for the real world by stimulating real world strategies. And this I want for our students within the context in which I serve. I have had the opportunity of serving as a library media specialist on permit in an elementary school. And one of the things that the district that I work in, they expect for maker spaces to be implemented in elementary, middle, and high school library media centers. And so I have been trying my best to create a makerspace in a library, but there were a lot of challenges. And one of the major challenges I kept coming into was time and belief systems of the teachers and how we could work collaboratively to make it effective for students while also honoring what their limitations are. However, we never got to so far. Well, because of COVID 19 and March 13th, we just kind of stopped, of course, suddenly with it. But I really, I really would like to continue the process if we return to school physically, and if not, maybe we can look at how we can implement some virtual maker spaces along the way. Because we don't know what the 2020-21 school year is going to look like or feel. But whatever it is, I do hope that we could continue with the makerspace idea. So the findings: maker spaces invite curiosity, maker spaces inspire wonder, maker spaces encourage playfulness, maker spaces celebrate unique solutions, maker spaces encourage tinkering and breaking of things, maker spaces is a context for collaboration. Chivalry suggests that during these maker workshops, students made a range of products, including digital products like animations and video games and holiday gifts using online platforms for ideas. So, with creating maker spaces in the classroom that can possibly move out into the library, back in the library, then the classroom. So it can be an ongoing process for children to be engaged and not just engaged, but engaged at a high and a deeper level. So from my investigative report, I have a few future plans. And my the first step is to help everyone understand what is a makerspace. The first step is to creating maker spaces in an elementary school is to ensure all community members can define the term makerspace. And when they define it, then we want to talk about what does it look like? What does it sound like? What does it feel like? How do we plan for it to support curriculum and instruction so that we're not losing time, but we're gaining time? Because when we are working at a deeper level and we become facilitators and the children begin to own their learning, it is more impactful than anything that we can do as educators for our students. So, after we have a good understanding of the definition, then we must collaboratively think about how to begin the process to and plan an innovative space in the school library that will benefit everyone, not just one group, but everyone. So as I come to the end of my makerspace exploration, Curdy and Fleming suggest no makerspace survives and thrives without a supportive environment. So when we think about, as I did my investigative report and I thought about environment, it's not just the physical environment, but it's also the human beings that live and move and breathe in that environment. So everyone who is involved, whether it's a classroom teacher, the custodians, everyone needs to understand what a makerspace is and how do we run a makerspace. And that's according to Oliver. Oliver's questions, how do we run a makerspace? So that is the question that we should ask ourselves. How do we run a makerspace? So we go back to what I asked earlier, what is a makerspace? And then how do we run a makerspace? And also, I'm going to restate the quote: no makerspace survives and thrives without a supportive environment. So, as we move into the 21st school year, that is what's going to drive what I do in the library media center in an elementary school. So, this investigative report for me has been informative, and it's also a foundational space for me to start on it uh, with a different plan to try and get everyone aboard or some people aboard just to start so that we can create maker spaces in an elementary school library.